Imagine trying to build a modern education system. Not just, upgrading one, but building it pretty much from the ground up. Well, that's the massive challenge facing Sierra Leone today. So we're going to dive into this landmark 2022 report that maps out their ambitious and, frankly, incredibly difficult journey into the world of educational tech.
Just take a look at this. This is the reality on the ground for so many students. It's a classroom that's just full of energy, full of potential, but it's also a world away from the digital tools a lot of us take for granted. This one image really captures the huge question at the heart of this entire story.
I mean, seriously, how do you do it? How do you bring education into the digital age when you're basically starting from scratch? It's not about making a few tweaks here and there. Nope. It's about building the entire foundation. And to even begin, you need a brutally honest look at where you're starting from. In this report, well, it does not pull any punches. The official diagnosis is blunt. The system's readiness for EdTech is, and I'm quoting here, critically low. We're not just talking about a few missing pieces, we're talking about a foundational problem across the entire system. So how do you even start to measure something this big?
Well, the researchers use this really powerful framework to check the health of the whole educational ecosystem. They break it all down into what they call the 6 pillars of readiness.
And the main tool they use is something called the EdTech Readiness Index, or ETRI for short. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a scorecard. It rates everything on a simple 1 to 5 scale. 1 means you're in critical condition, 5 is the goal. It gives us a really clear, data-driven way to see what's actually working and, what's not.
And here they are. These are the 6 pillars the index looks at. It's a full 360-degree view. It covers everything from school leadership to the skills of teachers and students, and of course the big ones, devices, connectivity, and the actual digital learning stuff. It's a really complete approach.
Okay, so with that framework in mind, let's take a look at what's really happening on the ground. And just a heads up, some of these numbers are genuinely shocking. Let's just start with this, 1%.
Just 1% of all schools in the entire country have any internet access. I'm not talking about fast internet or even reliable internet, just any kind of connection. That statistic is absolutely staggering. It shows you the sheer scale of the infrastructure mountain they have to climb.
Okay, so what about the teachers? What can they do with tech inside the classroom? Well, that number is 0%.
That's right, 0. In the whole survey, not a single teacher reported using tech like a computer or a projector to present information during class. For all practical purposes, the digital age just hasn't arrived at the front of the classroom in Sierra Leone.
And as you dig in, the picture gets clearer, and it's pretty bleak. Only 1% of teachers use any tech to prepare their lessons. Just 5% of principals think they have enough devices to go around. And this last one, this one is really telling. Only 3% of teachers are confident that even half their students could do something as basic as opening a new tab in a web browser. The key takeaway here is this isn't one single problem. It's a system-wide crisis.
Now, this is where the story gets really interesting, because you might think this is all just about a lack of money or equipment. But the report uncovers something deeper, a huge disconnect between what the government's policies say should be happening and what's actually happening in schools. The report calls this the gap between de jure, which is just the policy as it's written down, and de facto, which is the reality of how things actually get done. And what's so important to get is that this isn't just a Sierra Leone problem. This policy-to-practice gap is one of the toughest challenges in development work all over the world. It's the difference between a great plan in the capital city and what a teacher in a remote village can actually do.
And wow, this chart just lays that gap bare. On that 1 to 5 scale, the official policies, the de jure side, they score a pretty respectable 3.5. Not perfect, but solid. But when you look at the de facto side, what's actually happening in schools, the score just collapses to a 1.5. The plans are on paper, but they're getting lost somewhere on the way to the classroom.
And here is a perfect real-world example of that. 60% of school principals, they know it's their job to integrate technology. They get it. The problem? Only 7% of them have ever seen any official guidelines on how to actually do it. Think about that for a second. They've been given a destination, but with no map, no compass, no way to get there.
So, the diagnosis is clear. And yeah, it's grim. But the point of this report was never just to list all the problems. It's about creating a blueprint for the future. So let's pivot and look at the path forward.
So the report boils it all down into 5 core recommendations. First, you've got to develop a single national ed tech strategy. Without that North Star, everyone's just lost. Then you build up the human capacity, train teachers, train staff. Then you can roll out the actual infrastructure, fill it with good digital learning resources. And finally, and this is huge, you have to monitor and evaluate everything, using data to make every single decision.
Let's just zoom in on one of these for a second. Infrastructure. This isn't just some vague wish for more internet. The report gets specific. It talks about forging partnerships with mobile companies to bring costs down, using bulk purchasing to get devices into schools affordably, and, this one is so critical, building actual IT support systems. So when that one laptop in a school breaks, it doesn't just become a paperweight.
And really, in the end, this is what it's all about. You can have all the fiber optic cables and laptops in the world, but as this image shows, it all comes back to people. Success is all about empowering these teachers, giving them the skills, the confidence, and the support they need to actually use these tools to change how kids learn.
And that brings us right to the report's central conclusion, which really sums the whole thing up. It's a call for a unified, data-driven national strategy. No more small, disconnected projects. No more guesswork. It's about getting everyone to pull in the same direction, guided by real evidence. Which brings us full circle. The challenges, from internet access to teacher training to that massive policy gap, they are immense. But with a clear, data-driven strategy, the question is no longer if Sierra Leone can build this bridge to opportunity for its next generation.